Hello. My name is Sandra Rochelle Nyabang Mainim. This is my final project for serverless applications at Algonquin College. Today, I will present a dual implementation of an expense approval workflow. I built the same workflow twice, once using Azure Durable Functions and once using Azure Logic Apps with Service Bus. Then I will compare both approaches based on my real experience building them. Both versions implement the same business rules. An expense request comes in with 6 fields: employee name, employee email, amount, category, description, and manager email. The system first validates the request. If any required field is missing, or if the category is invalid, the request is rejected immediately. Valid categories are travel, meals, supplies, equipment, software, and other. If the request is valid and the amount is under $100, it is automatically approved. No manager needed. If the amount is $100 or more, the system waits for a manager decision. The manager can approve or reject. If no manager decision arrives within the timeout period, the expense is automatically approved and flagged as escalated. In all cases, the employee receives an email notification with the final outcome. Version A uses Azure Durable Functions with Python. The architecture has 3 layers. First, a client function that receives the HTTP request and starts the orchestration. Second, an orchestrator function that chains all the steps together. Third, individual activity functions for validation, manager notification, processing the outcome, and notifying the employee. The key design decision is the human interaction pattern. The orchestrator uses task_any with 2 competing tasks, waiting for an external manager decision event, or a durable timer set to 120 seconds for testing. Whichever fires first wins. The orchestrator suspends completely while waiting, without consuming compute resources. Now, let me show you version A working live. Here is my test file in VS Code. I will run all 6 scenarios. Scenario 1. Scenario 1. Alice Carter submitting $75 for meals. This is under the $100 threshold, so it should be auto-approved. I send the request. I receive a 202 accepted response. The orchestration has started. The email arrived in my inbox. Subject: expense request approved. Auto-approved because the amount is under $100. Scenario 1 passes. Scenario 2. Scenario 2. Ben Morris submitting $450 for travel. This requires manager approval. I send the request and receive the instance ID from the location header. I update the instance ID variable at the top of the file. Now I send the manager approval decision. The orchestration received the decision. The email arrived, approved by the manager. Scenario 2 passes. Scenario 3. Scenario 3. Chloe Singh submitting $900 for equipment. The manager will reject this one. I send the request, copy the instance ID, update the variable, then send the rejection decision. The email arrived, expense rejected with the manager comments. Scenario 3 passes. Scenario 4. Scenario 4. David Kim submitting $300 for software. I will send this and do nothing, no manager decision. The durable timer will fire after 120 seconds. I send the request. Now I wait. While waiting, I want to show what is happening inside Azure. The orchestrator is suspended, holding 2 competing tasks in memory: the external event listener and the durable timer. The Durable Functions extension persists this state in Azure storage, so no compute resources are consumed during the wait. The timer has fired. The email arrived, escalated due to timeout. The expense was automatically approved and flagged for administrative review. Scenario 4 passes. Scenario 5. Scenario 5. Ella Brown with a missing category field. This should fail validation immediately. I send the request. The orchestration completed instantly with status rejected and a validation error, missing required field category. No email sent because the request never passed validation. Scenario 5 passes. Scenario 6. Scenario 6. Farah Ali with category entertainment. This is not a valid category. The orchestration returned immediately. Invalid category entertainment. Valid categories are travel, meals, supplies, equipment, software, and other. Scenario 6 passes. All 6 version A scenarios pass. The orchestration logic, human interaction pattern, durable timer, and email notifications all work correctly on Azure. Version B implements the same workflow using Azure Logic Apps and Service Bus. This is a completely visual, declarative approach with no custom orchestration code. The architecture has 5 components. First, a service bus queue receives incoming expense requests. Second, the main orchestrator logic app reads from the queue, calls the validation function, and routes to the service bus topic based on the result. Third, an Azure function handles validation. Fourth, a service bus topic with 3 filtered subscriptions routes messages by status. Fifth, 3 notification logic apps send emails for approved, rejected, and escalated outcomes. Now, let me show you the portal. Here is my resource group with all the components deployed. I have the Service Bus namespace for Logic Apps, 2 Function Apps, and the Azure Communication Services resource. Here is the main orchestrator logic app in the designer. You can see the complete workflow visually. The trigger reads from the expense requests queue. Parse JSON decodes the message body. An HTTP action calls my validation function. A condition branches on valid or not valid. A nested condition checks if the amount is under $100. Based on the result, a message is sent to the service bus topic with the appropriate status property. Here is the service bus topic with 3 filtered subscriptions. Each subscription has a SQL filter, status equals approved, status equals rejected, or status equals escalated. Messages are automatically routed to the correct subscription. Now I will send 3 test messages live. I run the Python script. 3 messages sent to the queue. The logic app pulls every 3 minutes. While waiting, here are the 3 notification logic apps. Each one reads from its subscription and sends an email using Office 365. The emails have arrived, approved, rejected, and escalated. All 3 routed correctly through the filtered subscriptions. Here is the run history showing 3 successful runs. I will open one to show the visual branching. You can see exactly which path was taken. The green check marks show the executed branch. Now let me compare both approaches across 6 dimensions based on my direct experience. Development experience. Durable Functions gave me full Python control. I was confident the logic was correct because I could read and debug the code directly. Logic Apps was faster to wire up visually, but harder to debug. When the service bus property filter was not routing correctly, there was no clear error message. I had to check the run history and inspect each action manually. Testability. Durable Functions was much easier to test. I used a simple HTTP file in VS Code and ran everything locally. Logic Apps required sending real messages to Azure Service Bus. There is no local equivalent. Every test required a live Azure deployment. Error handling. Durable Functions gives full Python try and accept control at every activity level with explicit fallback logic. Logic Apps has built-in retry-on actions, but no custom exception handling. If something fails, you get a generic error in the run history. Human interaction pattern. This is where Durable Functions wins clearly. The task_any pattern is native to the framework. The orchestrator suspends and waits with 0 effort. Logic Apps has no equivalent pattern. I implemented immediate escalation for high-value expenses as a workaround, which I documented as a known limitation. Observability. Both tools have run history. Logic Apps shows the visual canvas with green and red checkmarks on each action. Very easy to read at a glance. Durable Functions Application Insights shows the full orchestration tree with activity durations and logs, more detailed but requires more navigation. Cost. Both versions run on consumption plans and are nearly free at low volume. At 100 expenses per day, the cost is essentially 0 for both. At 10,000 expenses per day, Logic Apps costs slightly more due to per-action billing, but both remain affordable. My recommendation is Azure Durable Functions for production use cases where the workflow has complex branching, requires the human interaction pattern, or needs a developer team. Python gives full control. Local testability is far superior. Error handling is explicit. And the human interaction pattern is native. You cannot replicate it cleanly in Logic Apps. I would choose Logic Apps when the team includes non-developers who need to read or modify the workflow, or when quickly integrating with Office 365, Salesforce, or other Microsoft connectors matters more than code flexibility. The visual designer is readable by business stakeholders without any technical background. To close, what surprised me most was how difficult it is to replicate the human interaction pattern in Logic Apps. It is genuinely a code-first concept. I also learned that service bus property filtering requires careful testing. Silent failures are hard to diagnose. And I would design the JSON schema before building either version next time. Thank you for watching. Both versions are fully deployed on Azure. All 6 test scenarios pass for version A. Version B successfully routes messages through filtered subscriptions and sends email notifications. The complete code and screenshots are available in my GitHub repository.